Gentlemen, welcome to The Rock. All right, fellas, we are jumping back into the world of Michael Bay movies, the big budget 90s action thrillers. And when we did Armageddon, Bob, which we did a couple of pods ago, Joe Bay immediately reached out and said, hey, if you guys ever do The Rock, I'm in. He had a bunch of stories. I don't know if he's going to be willing to share some of those stories.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. Okay.
On this pod. We'll see where it goes, but I'm going to start right there because, Joe Bay, you don't need an introduction anymore. Tell us why you love The Rock.
Yeah, thanks, Poz. What up, Pozcast listeners? Good to be back. I mean, hearing you guys talk about Armageddon and Michael Bay, the Rock is Michael Bay's finest opus, and I consider Michael Bay one of our greatest artists of all time in American cinema history. Loyal podcast listeners know when I watch a movie, it's not about the cinematography. It's really not even about the characters. It's just about, is it fun or not? The Rock is fun. It's just pure entertainment. It's great to watch. It came out at the perfect time in my life. 96, I'm in high school. I'm just a horny young man trying to see some action and have some fun. I had a buddy of mine was like really into movies and he absolutely adored this one. My friend Ben Guy. Michael Bay was like the first director that I ever remember caring about. And you've got Nicolas Cage. I mean, Nicolas Cage, absolutely height of his powers right here, exceptional actor. So this was one I could not pass up. Although truly the reason I really wanted to be a part of The Rock is to hear Bob's Sean Connery impression. I mean, that's the main reason. And I know the Pozcast Nation, Poz Nation is out there just clamoring for it. So let's get it going, boys.
Well, yes, I've got one, but it's not from this movie because the best one is yes. This is Red October.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
Bob, why you love it?
Well, I don't love it that much. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's all the reasons Joe Bay said. It's great. It's Michael Bay at his finest. I just love how Michael Bay can take a scene where they not pull one of the most dangerous convicts out of jail, but just open the door. He drops the keys and the keys drop in slow motion. I just want to be in that editing room where Michael Bay's like, okay, this is what we need here. The keys need to drop out of his hand and it needs to be slow motion. It's just everything is over the top. Everything might just last a little too long. The car chase lasts just a little too long. The standoff lasts just a little too long, but it's fun. That's it. This is very, very mindless. It's got Sean Connery. It's almost as you watch this movie and you know who Sean Connery is. It's like, I can't believe he agreed to do this movie. I mean, he's probably one of the best actors of all time. And he is paired with Nicolas Cage. And I cannot wait for our conversation around Nicolas Cage. Very along the lines of, is Uma Thurman hot? Is Nicolas Cage a good actor? Is he in on the joke? I think that's part of it, correct? He's in on the joke of the character of Nicolas Cage, correct?
It's incredible that you said that, Bob. I was going to do a thing, is Nick Cage good? And I go, I guarantee Bob has that covered, so I will not even go to it. Can't wait to discuss it. June of 96, gentlemen, this guy had been married a couple months. That's how long ago we're going back, 28 years ago. As mentioned, Michael Bay of Transformers and Armageddon fame, starring Sean Connery, great accent by you, Bob, Ed Harris, and Nicholas Kim Coppola, better known as Nick Cage, who we will spend some time on his filmography. Bobby, you mentioned Sean Connery might be the greatest actor of all time, but I ask you this question. Does he have the best voice / accent, not just in movie history, in the history of the world?
Well, funny you say that. I've got a Hall of Fame plaque for best accent ever. So we'll wait to talk about that. One of my quotes, I think I'll get his accent pretty tight, but it's amazing. I could listen to him, as you say, read a phone book. He's amazing. The voice is absolutely incredible.
Agreed. And a very handsome man. Box office, guys, naturally a hit. $336 million, number 4 worldwide. But more importantly, the number 1 movie that year, Bobby, you will recall as Independence Day. Not the most important thing that's number 1 at. Independence Day remains the number 1 most listened to podcast of all time. So Independence
That's
Day
crazy.
and 1996.
Kevin Lawson, and I would imagine too is Dazed and Confused, right, with Jobe?
Dazed and Confused is in the top 5.
Okay.
But was number 1 at one point in time, back when we had 2 pods out. So Jobe has definitely produced in the past notable movies, Bob. In 96, get ready for a quote. Space Jam with the GOAT in 96. You had Primal Fear. Good job, Marty. Happy Gilmore. Bobby loves our guy, Adam Sandler. And from our guy, Mel Gibson, Bobby, Ransom.
Give me back my son.
Best Picture in 96. This did not come without controversy. The English Patient. Now, a movie.
That's next week, right?
Never. Again, you've said this before, Bob. Do we do English Patient? The pod ends the minute we do that. We love to relitigate some things on here. This movie, I've never seen it, but I've heard it's terrible, lost to both Fargo and Jerry Maguire, who were nominated. So Joe Bay, better movie in 96, English Patient, Fargo, or Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, you'll have to get the somehow popular M. Kevin Lawson back on for the English Patient. I'm a little bitter that he's got the number 1 spot. So Poz Nation, let's get this one up to number 1 ahead of Independence Day. But I have never seen the English Patient. I will never see the English Patient.
What would we guess?
The Rock should have been number 1.
Jobe, give me a synopsis of what is the English Patient about? What do you think it's? I have no idea. You could tell me literally anything.
I know the
I know you do.
I do know the plot because I know the plot of every movie. It's actually a dental patient. He's got a tooth problem, a tooth infection, falls in love with his dentist. It's a whole love story scene predicated on the fact that they don't have fluoride in their water. And so it's a mess.
We won't either here soon. Thank God President Trump is coming in office here soon. But where is it a timepiece? Is it set in the 70s, the 90s?
Yeah, it's set in 1957.
Okay.
Which famously was a wild time in English dentistry.
Something, Bob, that we need to relitigate, and I'll let us do it right here. This movie, The Rock, was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Sound.
Can you imagine?
Didn't win, but I'm going to tell you what did win, Bob, and what it beat. The English Patient somehow won for Best Sound. Here are 3 movies that it beat for Best Sound. And you tell me, did we miss here? Twister, Independence Day, and The Rock. You're telling me, Bob, The English Patient had better sound than those 3 movies?
Is there a more distinguishable sound than that thing going, drilling, which I'm sure there was a lot of drilling in that movie. So, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It got Best Sound.
Nicholas Kim Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola, who I think, Bob, you nominated for one of the great names in the history of movie history. That is his uncle. He wanted to change his name.
Had no idea of that.
Yeah, he wanted to change his name because he felt like he got his first 2 gigs, Fast Times at Ridgemont High and The Outsiders. He felt like because he was a Coppola. So he changes his name, wanted his, all of his accolades to be on his own merit. But I'm sure all these guys are like, yeah, that's Francis's kid over there. So let's talk about this guy's career, which is an interesting arc. I don't even know how to describe it. We've done a lot of 101s. I don't think he's a 101, but it's definitely strange.
He's close.
So it is bizarre. So Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Outsiders, movies that we love, but he's very, very small parts in it, almost uncredited, I think. I had forgotten he was in some of those. Gets his first kind of starring role in 83 with Valley Girl. Probably where I remember him from was 87 in Raising Arizona. Do you remember that movie, Bob? You're younger than me, but do you recall it?
I remember. Our sister loved that movie for whatever reason. I remember that constantly being on and her getting a big kick out of that movie. I don't remember loving that movie that much, but it's almost a cult classic, if you will.
It is. And then we get kind of a Vegas turn out of him. We get 92 Honeymoon in Vegas, where famously I Had a Straight Flush comes out, and he loses there with Sarah Jessica Parker. Then 95, he wins the Academy Award for Best Actor, Leaving Las Vegas, with our girl, Elizabeth Shue. Joe Bay, I assume you're a big Vegas guy. Where do you stand on those 2 Vegas movies?
I'm a once-a-year Vegas guy, but a very enthusiastic once-a-year Vegas guy. I don't know anything about Honeymoon in Las Vegas. Well, of course I know everything about Honeymoon in Las Vegas, but I don't want to talk about it. I loved Leaving Las Vegas. I remember watching that movie, and my friend, the aforementioned Ben Guy, told me, "You got to watch this. It is, it's like such a well-made movie." I just laughed and laughed and laughed the whole time. I thought Nicolas Cage played such a hilarious. I mean, I know it was a sad character, but at the time, I was just like, "This guy's amazing. This is so funny." I mean, I was like, I want to hang out with him now. I in retrospect, terrible guy to be around, but yeah, I mean, Cage. God, Cage is good. I won't listen to us talk badly about him because he is just a fantastic actor.
I've never seen that movie. It's
depressing.
Yeah, and I guess I need to watch it.
You've also never been to Vegas, right?
Correct. Oh, that's correct.
Which is wild. Yeah,
I never will
watch it. No, we'll watch it on the plane out there this spring, Bobby.
Ooh, I like that idea.
It's a tough watch, Bob. But this is kind of where there's a pivot, right? I mean, this guy wins the best actor. It's an acclaimed movie. I don't care for it too much, but he does a good job in it. And then apparently he makes a decision. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to have fun and I want to cash some checks. Because listen to this run. 96, you get The Rock. 97, iconic. Con Air and Face Off. Bobby, this guy goes Goodspeed, Cameron Poe, and Castor Troy. Has there ever been a 3-character arc that you've enjoyed more in the history of cinema?
Maybe not. And that's a Hall of Fame plaque that I'll be tirelessly working on while we're doing this. The best trio. I mean, they could all be the same exact character, even though they're very, very different. But man, what a run. What a run. What a time to be alive, as you said.
And then it kind of, look, 8mm in 99. You want to talk about a tough hang and a tough watch. It's interesting. It's pretty good, but it's a tough, I wouldn't call that rewatchable. Then you get Gone in 60 Seconds at the turn of the century. And then a comeback, a movie that my kids really, really like in family, the National Treasure franchise. Benjamin Gates. I mean, that is just incredible. He's got some unbelievable character names that he's had. Ghost Rider in 11. And then the guy is, I guess, just sort of disappeared off the face of the years. Joe Bay, you seem to be a huge Nick Cage guy. What has happened here? We see this a lot. Bob and I see this a lot. Bob's theory is you just get too much money. You just get bored. The only guys that seem to care are Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. They just and Musk, they just keep pressing on even though they got all this money. But Joe Bay, what happened here?
Yeah, you asked earlier if he's in on the joke. I mean, I think he's so far above us on this joke. He's just like, look, I've played these people for tens and maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. I think the guy owns a T-Rex skull, if I remember that correctly. Like, he's just like, yeah, he's got all the money in the world. He's like, I'm not going to take direction from anybody. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to go and sit and look at my T-Rex skull and enjoy my life. He's laughing at us from his mansion, wherever it is, with that beautiful T-Rex skull.
Bobby, the international community seems to enjoy Michael Bay. Did they appreciate this trip to Alcatraz?
Well, hold on, Mark. We got to pause here. Yes, Nicolas Cage bought a Tyrannosaurus skull in 2007, but later returned it to the Mongolian government after learning it was stolen. I mean, even that's buying it is interesting. And then, no, the Mongolians say it's stolen. Can you imagine the conversation between Nicolas Cage and the Mongolian government or whoever they are? I don't even know who they are. That's amazing. Mark, I'm sorry. I was not paying attention. What was the question? I had to get to the bottom of that one. What was the question?
The international community and the Golden Schmo fellas.
Well,
what do they think of this?
First, let me talk about either my next $1 billion idea. Well, my first $1 billion idea. Well, this might be a $1 billion idea. Me and you and Joe Rogan going to be sitting on the beach earning 20% off this podcast. So every movie that we do, I have to pay for. Okay. It's not even a joke anymore. My theory is that everybody knows everything about everything, right? Amazon knows everything that I do, that I buy, that I'm doing. They know that I'm doing this podcast now. So the algorithm sees that I bought Die Hard, The Rock, like all of our favorite movies. So the algorithm is just going to say that the next movie we do, like we're doing Inception next, I think, if we have time. There's no doubt that there is a 62-year-old woman in Kansas that when she logs on to Prime for Interstellar, it's free for her. but they charge me. There's no question that the algorithm knows exactly the next 50 movies I'm going to search on there, and they're going to charge me. Jobe, would that surprise you that Bezos is in my nugget, is in my little cookies and cachet or whatever it's called, and makes me pay for movies, but other people don't?
Well, as you know, Bob, Amazon is a wonderful customer to me as in my other career as a salesman. So I'm not going to comment on what Bezos knows, but yeah, I wonder. I was a sucker on this one and watched the free version on FX. So it was 3.5 hours to get through it with the commercials. So that may explain why I look so terrible today. I never look great, but I was up till 2:00 in the morning taking notes on this damn movie last night, trying to get through the commercials.
Well, you know who else didn't like this movie is the Indians, not the Indians of the Cherokee Nation or things like that. The community that really didn't like this was the country of India. Now, we always get or at least I do because I'm a child, of best foreign film. A film made in the United States is a foreign film for folks in Germany and Japan, in case you guys didn't know that. Well, the Indians, the Yoga Award, gave this movie the worst foreign film. Now, you can pick this movie apart, but you're telling me there wasn't a worse film made the entire year than The Rock? I mean, are the Indians, they just don't have a good sense of humor is what I'm thinking. Now, here's where we love the Germans. The Germans, the Jupiter Award gave Best International Actor. Do you know who they gave it to? Not Sean Connery. Nicolas Cage, Best International Actor for his performance in The Rock, which is amazing. More like this on Prime: Con Air, Face Off, Speed, Armageddon, Air Force One, Die Hard, National Treasure. Those are pretty. I might stop doing that category. Those are pretty obvious. I don't know if the crowd likes that. Did you know that Jesus himself dropped that bomb on The Rock? That was Jim Caviezel, the pilot.
Yes, saw that.
Because I've done my research and kind of worst doofus pilots, and then I found out it was Jesus Christ. So I said I'm going to leave that out of the Hall of Fame categories of him pressing that button. A lot of foul language and gratuitous sex scenes. I don't remember that. I was watching this with my son because I was like, The Rock, that's got to be fine. And in the first 15 minutes, there's just like 17 F-bomb drops. Goodspeed is on the top of a building, just having sex with his girlfriend. It was a little much. Sarin gas, Mark. Okay, I got something on this. The Nazis basically discovered sarin gas, and Adolf Hitler said, "We're not using it." It was too bad for Adolf Hitler, and then the Iraqis used it on them, on their own people over there. But how about that? The word Hitler comes out a lot. Can you imagine Hitler being like, "Whoa, I'm not doing that. That's a little too much." But here we are. Stanley Goodspeed is trying to defuse sarin gas. But sarin gas does exist and does do all the things that it talks about in this movie.
Wow, that's a tough beat for sarin gas. All right, fellas, let's get in to the film. As always, we're going to start with, what's your favorite scene? What do you got, Joe Bay? What is your favorite scene in this opus, as you called it?
I did call it that. My favorite scene, maybe not everybody's favorite scene, but I'm going to go with this one just because there's a couple things that I love about it. It's the first Stanley and Carla sex scene. It's when we first meet. It's not when we first meet Carla, but it's when we first really get to know Carla. She's sitting atop him in the apartment. He gets the phone call that he has to go and delivers one of my favorite lines that maybe we'll get into later. But it just establishes her as just insatiable. She's so sexy. I loved her. There was so many great scenes in that movie, though. I think actually my favorite scene I'm going to save for a segment later, the Rudy Sack Award, because it's one that just really got my emotions going. But if you had to pick a scene to just show me over and over again, it's beautiful Carla just being, completely insatiable and incredible.
I think there wasn't a lot. There's a lot. It's just a good movie. There wasn't many scenes that really jumped out at me, but I do like when Ed Harris, he stands up to his guys and is basically like, "What do you think I am? I'm not a monster. I'm not killing 80,000 people. We bluffed. They called. It's over." Like, I kind of like that he had that control. He's obviously a monster. He's doing it for a good cause, or what he thinks is a good cause. But you knew that, a good military man is not a psychopath. When people started dying, you knew it bothered him. And then finally, when he realized, hey, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. We abort. We're not going to kill all these people. Kind of sad when he died. And I love my guy from the Green Mile who stuck up for him. That was his guy through his entire career. So I really, really like that scene.
Yeah, that was a good take on that spin to Hummel. More on him. We just did Die Hard. Hans Gruber, an excellent villain. Hummel, kind of left a little bit to be desired. You're right, Bob. I didn't have a ton of scenes because it wasn't like a lot of standout stuff, just kind of good action throughout. I enjoyed the part when they finally get to Alcatraz and they kind of stumble upon a situation where there's a door they can't get through. Mason has to crawl through that kind of steam engine, comes out and gives the welcome to the Rock in the Sean Connery voice, which I thought was really good. Now, quotes. Now, I opened up the pod with Welcome to the Rock, which is a pretty iconic quote. My big takeaway from this, and I didn't have a ton of others, but you guys did. So let's hear what you got, Joe Bay. Favorite quotes from the Rock.
Yeah, I was surprised you didn't see many from this because I guess I just use these a lot, and I do find this a quotable movie. My first one, easy. Anytime you're off the phone, Hummel from Alcatraz, out. Such a great way to sign off. It really just gives me goosebumps every time he says it. I love it. And then I kind of referred to another one when Nicolas Cage is being intimate with his wonderful girlfriend, and the phone rings, and he says, "This isn't happening. This isn't happening." I just love that one. I think I say that one a lot. I've got a few more. I don't want to take any from Bob if Bob's got a couple he wants to call out.
Well, other than Welcome to the Rock, I'd take pleasure in gutting you, boy. I take pleasure in gutting you, boy. I love when Cage does that. And then probably the best Connery one, losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and bang the prom queen.
Hold on.
Thank
nice
you.
job,
Thank
Bobby.
You.
Nice job.
Wonderful. It's what we all wanted. And then I think I actually say more. Carla was the prom queen. Just the way.
He follows it up with that, which is good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love when he says, "I'm Stanley Goodspeed," and Connery says, "But of course you are."
Yeah, they're meeting. That's a good scene. That is a very good scene when Connery is in the interrogation room and Goodspeed comes in there. That is a really, really good.
That's great. And one more that I've got it's probably a little problematic now. I think people maybe don't love this trope of character, but the hairstylist, when he's stuck in the elevator and he just says, "All I care about is, are you happy with your haircut?" I probably say that. I say that all the time.
It's a very mid-90s character, the flamboyantly gay hairstylist or whatever the case may be. That doesn't exist in movies today.
Yeah, a little too much, but just the guy cares about his job. I love that. Yeah.
All right, fellas, 28 years ago, The movie holds up pretty well. Yeah, every time we do one of these, Bob, it really kind of hones into how old we're getting. But 28 years, Joe Bay, what has held up for you from The Rock?
Well, Nicolas Cage holds up. He's got his performance again, just fantastic. I think the U.S. military holds up. Bob knows I am a fanatical American and love America and the military more than he does. Just the patriotism and the discipline and everything about the way that they hold themselves, I just love. It's just cool. It's just fun to see and inspiring. One that doesn't hold up, but kind of holds up for me. They refer to at the beginning when they're disarming that package, they pull out, a couple dirty magazines. Dirty magazines don't hold up for a lot of reasons, but man, did I love dirty magazines back in 1996.
They don't hold up, but you wish they did, correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. That's always a good one. So those are a couple that hold up for me.
Kids not liking needles. So one of the basic, it gets right in there when they get in that, tube and they're trying to that doll that's got all that. And they're like, all right, take that needle and put it in. My man Sammy got stitches in his shin. One of the most painful thing I've ever done is gotten a needle in my thumb for a wart when I was like 12 years old. And when there's no fat and no muscle, the needle hurts. So my man Sam is out on needles. I know that's not different. People don't like needles, but kids being scared of needles unfortunately holds up, because when they said, hey, stick it in your heart, he's like, Dad, tell me when that is over. I am not watching that. Don't you get the feeling, Mark, that when we like do Notting Hill or The Notebook or some rom-com, that there's going to be a helicopter in it? There's just helicopters in every movie, and they're unbelievable every time. They're incredible. They are absolutely incredible, and they're incredible in this movie. Not being married and getting pregnant and being worried about it, that unfortunately doesn't hold up in this society. But I love the fact that she's like, I'm Catholic. We're not married. We're getting married. I love that was a thing in the late 90s. That's not even a thing anymore. You know what holds up? Google. Google replaced the information. You know, he calls up, he's like, hey, information, I need to find this woman. Like, there was a number. Wasn't it like, well, I forget what it was, but you could call and just talk to like someone and just try to figure out a problem. That's basically just Google now. So Google holds up. Our girl from Meet Joe Black, how is her career not more? She's incredibly beautiful, unique looking. She holds up for sure. You know what I love too? When they're in Central Command and they're looking at these old monitors with that green text and the reflection of like the green text on the guy's face because they're looking at the monitor, you know, stuff is very important and very intense if there's green lettering on a reflection on a face. So those are my things that hold up.
Great job by you guys. I had Alcatraz holds up. I mean, you can still kind of gander out there. I just kind of wonder what that was like. Sean Connery's accent, that thing holds up. What a good looking man. The welcome to the rock quote. And then one other thing, well, Navy SEALs, kind of to your point, Joe Bay, they always hold up. San Francisco Hills for a car chase. Now, if you've been to San Francisco, you know what I'm talking about. It is dramatically up and down.
It's the worst.
What a setting for car chases. It is just every car chase in every movie, you got to somehow make your way to San Francisco because it is an incredible device for that. All right. We could probably spend a ton of time. Oh, go ahead, Joe Bay.
Just a quick comment on San Francisco, because I know there's some dissonance between me and Bob on this one. I think San Francisco, number one, is an incredible city, but maybe the best setting for a movie. You guys talk a lot about Chicago and Boston. What's better? San Francisco is an unreal setting for a movie. Incredible. The topography of it, the history, the landscape, the architect, like everything about it is so cool. And to say Alcatraz doesn't hold up, Bob, that's almost.
I was going to say no. I was going to save this for Bob's big question, but we'll litigate it now. We'll do it live. I hate San Francisco, not for all the reasons you're talking about, Joe Bay, not the map of human feces. I'm not all this stuff, not political, not anything. I don't like San Francisco. I, in fact, hate San Francisco. One, I hate the weather. I hate the fog. I hate the fact that it's 90 degrees out, for 1 second. The next it's 45 degrees. One, I'm terrified of bridges. Going over the Golden Gate Bridge and then that second bridge, I just drove it this summer when we went on a trip. Absolutely terrified the whole entire time. I hate bridges. I don't want to go on bridges. And you got to go on bridges in San Francisco. The hills of San Francisco, it's enough already. I hate mountain golf. I hate, one hole in a course is fine, but I just don't like up and the down. And you can't walk anywhere. I love walking. There's probably most of my conversations with you two old people is when we're walking. We're getting old. I was talking to Joe Bay the other day. He's just walking through the park. It's like, I had to get my walk. Mark, you're getting your steps in. You can't walk in San Francisco. It's crowded. I hate it. I'm not a West Coast guy. It's what I learned with my trip this summer. I'm not a West Coast guy. I'm totally out on San Francisco.
This is not an official segment on the podcast, but one that should be. Bob's big beef, and clearly he has one there. Might have been a question for you. There are a ton here. Joe Bay, I know this is your flick. Do you have any questions? Because if you don't, I'm going to have some questions myself about this.
A few questions, and I definitely don't want to step on Bob's questions, but this is a question not just for this movie, but for a lot of movies that use this sort of tool. The atropine I think is what it's called, that it will counteract the VX gas. And you guys have done the Tarantino movie, where Pulp Fiction, stab it in the heart, immediately reverses the drug overdose. Are we sure these are miracle drugs that immediately like cure these horrible things that happen to people? I'm not so sure it does.
Well, here, one more thing on that too, JB. I'm with you, but I'm positive it doesn't work when you stick it into your like large intestine, like Stanley Goodsby did. It's like it's halfway. It's in his stomach almost. Posada Consulting Group. I know it's not. I know it's not here, right? We always think the heart's here because we do this, but it ain't down here. I know that. So go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I think maybe they just did that because it was too gruesome to just see someone stabbing into the heart. Like I was freaking out like Sammy was when they started to do that. One other one that I did a tiny bit of research on, just these rockets that are flying towards Candlestick Park, and Hummel is debating whether to let them hit and typing on his computer and thinking. I believe my research showed me those rockets would fly about 0.8 of Mach 1, about 520 miles per hour. So to go from Alcatraz to Candlestick, it would have taken about 1 second. So Hummel took Hummel took like 2 minutes, whatever, to figure out how to do that.
Maybe
that
went around and around.
It may have, but that one was a question for me.
Yeah. So these guys have a big chance of dying. They're signing up to kill 80,000 people. They're treasonous. They're mutant. They're basically performing mutiny, and they do it for $1 million. Like that's 2 million. $1 million in '96 is 2 million now. They're basically ending their life for 2 million. Listen, I'd take 2 million right now, but you would think they'd hold off for a little more, right? Mark, would you turn your back on your country, incinerate 80,000 people for $2 million? I know you're a rich man, but what would you do there?
Yeah, again, a big miss. I knew this would come up. Bob, doing this podcast with you has eliminated a lot of my note taking because I was going to write that down. I go, Bob's got that. He's got math figured out.
There's a lot of pressure. I know that. I have no idea when this movie was made. I don't know how much it made in the theaters. I don't know that. I know that's your job, and I know my job here. Could Stanley Goodsby get this girl? Joe, you are head over heels for this woman. Could Stanley Goodspeed get this girl in real life?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Goodspeed's a stud. Yeah, I know they make him out to be a bit of a nerd, but I mean, this guy's he's quoting Shakespeare. He's a smart guy. When they went through his education, like, I'm a sucker for a well-educated person. So I think
and a good football team.
That's right. I was going to wear my Vandy hat today, but decided not. But yes, I think Goodspeed gets this girl. And let's be honest, she's a good-looking girl. She ain't the smartest girl in the world.
She's not. Mark, was Alcatraz the best choice to make this stand? I would think if you went in the military handbook of high ground, a lot of outs, they stick themselves on an island. Best place to conduct this last stand?
Not at all. Cinematically pretty cool and a cool spot so they can get it in San Francisco. But the high ground always holds up. In that shower scene, Hummel's guys have the high ground famously. Anakin did not. The high ground always holds up. This is not it.
Yeah. So did we really need Stanley Goodspeed? He did nothing with chemical weapons. He just disarmed a bunch of bombs. Couldn't we get like Jeremy Renner out there? We needed Jeremy Renner from the Hurt Locker. He did nothing with chemicals in this movie. Right?
Good point, Bob. Good pickup.
I didn't even think about that. I just thought, hell yeah, we need Nicolas Cage out there.
That's a great point. Nice job.
Yeah, he just disarmed a bunch of bombs. I think maybe being more proficient with weapons and hand-to-hand combat would have been the better choice. So Ed Harris and his crew get on as they're part of the Alcatraz tour, or some of them. Ed Harris and a couple of his main guys. They're in street clothes. Is it necessary for them to then change into fatigues? Couldn't they have done this in their jeans and jacket? Like they had to bring a duffel bag, or like in the planning, they're like, hey, you guys that are coming in on the helicopter, make sure you bring my fatigues because I want to be dressed in fatigues when I do this.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to see the scene where they're like, "All right, everybody, just take 5 minutes. We're gonna change up, get your suits
exactly.
on." But I actually had one other question about that I thought was hilarious. That they're on the tour, right? And there's some kids on the tour, and Ed Harris pulls those two little girls aside and just says, "Go tell your teacher it's time to get back on the boat." Like, what does the teacher say to that? Oh, hey everybody, like, field trip's over. These two little girls said it's time to get back on the boat, so we're gonna just head out of here. The teacher's like, "Shut up, kid. Like, continue on with the tour," right?
More on Hummel. They get them all the hostages in there. They're waiting, and then they send 3 helicopters, and it just baffles Ed Harris. Like, dang, aren't you expecting them to do something? He's just baffled that they're sending people over there. And my last question: there's no chance Stanley Goodspeed knows how to drive a motorcycle. No chance. Like, none. Especially one of those old, 2-stroke. Like, that's not. Yeah, there's no way he knows how to drive a motorcycle.
Yeah, as someone who has jumped on a motorcycle thinking I knew how to drive it before and almost killed myself, no chance.
No chance. I actually had one more. When our girl from Meet Joe Black, Stanley Goodspeed said, "Sir, excuse me, ma'am, he's working with us." Does she believe him as 50 cops have guns pointed on him? Like, oh, you're working, he's working with the FBI. And does she believe that? Maybe she's not the smartest one in the movie, but those are all my questions. Sorry, Joe Bay. I didn't want to poke too many holes in this movie, as I did enjoy watching it, but I had some questions.
Bobby, easily one of your best performances on questions. Really dug deep. I just have 2 for you guys. So they're preparing to launch this poisonous gas into San Francisco. They don't give them 5 minutes. They give them several hours, a day even. We're not going to evacuate the city of San Francisco. And more importantly, we're just going to have an NFL game going on with rockets filled with poisonous gas not that far away. I felt like that was a miss. And Bobby, we all love National Treasure. When he gets the microfilm at the end, is this the prequel to Benjamin Gates and National Treasure?
It could be. It could be. I did look up Fort Walton, Kansas. Not much going on in Fort Walton, Kansas. I thought maybe that was an Easter egg for something else. Not much going on in Fort Walton, Kansas.
No, it's not, but you're heading there this weekend. Bobby, one final question. Would this movie have been better with John Creasy in it, and what character would he have been?
It's a different movie. Let me just put that. He's Hummel. He's Ed Harris. And let's just say that 49ers game didn't end well. There is no flinching. There's no blinking. He would get his money, and just a lot of people would be dead. But just a totally different movie. It's not a summer blockbuster. It's probably one that's, maybe rated NC-17. But I think that's what he plays. Because if he's Stanley Goodspeed or Sean Connery, then it lasts very, very short. He just goes in and blows away Hummel, and he just lets all the hostages go.
As always, John Creasy makes it better, but it's always a little different. The movie. All right, fellas, time to hand out some awards. Joe Bay, you'll get the honor on each one. We start with the Matthew McConaughey Award for the best scene stealer of the movie, Joe Bay.
The best scene stealer of the movie. This one was tough for me because there was a couple. I think my favorite. So I was going to joke that the old lady with the cane crossing the street was my scene stealer. That lady, whoever told her to walk the way that she walked, I just can't believe they allowed that in the movie. It's so strange. I wanted to see more of that. But I think better than that, I'm going to go with the Marine in the first scene that gets stuck in the chamber with the sarin gas. The first time we see the gas melt the skin, it's horrifying. His acting in that is fantastic. I wrote down a couple of his lines. Come on, man, let me out of here. Like, I feel like you might be a little more forceful in that. And then as he's dying, very quietly, you hear him just going, ow, 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 ow. Which I just love. I loved. I mean, you could say he deserved that death. He's the one that dropped the damn gas on this perfectly orchestrated attack. But I'd like to see a little bit more from that guy. I know he's dead in the movie, so couldn't see more of him, but would have loved to see a little bit more of that.
Mark, I'll let you vote between these two. So one, we got the trolley driver in San Francisco. Oh, we're going to crash. Save yourselves. Oh, baby. I mean, he was awesome. He was awesome in that. And then the Marine, when Nicolas Cage is talking to our guy from John Connor and From the Abyss, the typecast Navy SEAL. We'll talk about more of him on Hall of Fame plaques. But he says, it's a very dangerous mission. Dangerous mission, what do you mean? An incursion underwater to retake an impregnable fortress held by an elite team of U.S. Marines in possession of 81 hostages, 15 guided rockets, armed with VX poison gas. How did he memorize that? Was it did he know that he was going to get called upon to do this? But the cadence in which he says it is really, really good. That's probably where I'm leaning to. But Mark, is it the trolley driver or is it the Marine that explains the mission?
Well, look, the trolley driver was elite, but Michael Biehn, I mean, look, that's John Connor's father. You got to give it to him.
Well, no, he didn't do it. His underling did it. His underling did it. But okay.
Got it. Well, in that case,
Lieutenant Sheridan was the guy. Danny Nucci, fantastic guy. I'm going to say Bob. I'm going to go with you, Bob, on that one. I love that scene.
Yeah,
guys, I went with Stanley Anderson. He was the president. You know where he was also the president? He was the president in Armageddon. So some people think that this is a shared universe. And how about this guy? What a campaign he could have ran. He handled the rock situation and then also had Harry Stamper go up there and save the entire planet. So great job, Stanley Anderson. The Mr. Miyagi Award for Best Parent, Joe Bay.
Oh, boy. I'm going with Goodspeed. Again, Nicolas Cage, he's good under pressure. He handles himself in unexpected situations, something you got to be good at as a parent. He loves his lady. He's going to be. He didn't want to be a parent, but he's going to be a great dad because he loves his soon to be wife, and he's going to take care of them. He's smart. He doesn't swear. I love that. Far too often these days we see people using atrocious language in front of kids. He's not gonna do that. I think the worst we're gonna get out of him is a-hole. And to satisfy you, Mark, I think he's rich. You look at that apartment that he lives in. I mean, that is an incredible apartment. So I know that's one of your prerequisites for the best parent. So he's got some bucks. So I'm saying Stanley Goodspeed takes it.
Okay. So he starts his family out of wedlock, and then he doesn't have the stones to propose to his wife. His wife proposes to him. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to go well, Joe Bay. The best parent, Sean Connery. All indications point to he was wrongly accused, never did anything wrong. Now, he's killed a couple people, but unfortunately his country has put him in that scenario. He saved the United States. He's a British citizen. He saves the United States. He comes back for Goodspeed. He loves his daughter, who he's been wrong, and he just took it like a man. Been wrongly in prison for 30 years. Took it like a man. He could have killed, what's his face? The guy that he hung over from that. There's no way your hand stays attached. I mean, could you imagine the pain of that hand being thrown over? But he doesn't kill any of those folks. So Sean Connery, yes, this is the hunt for the Red October.
Bob is correct. It's Mason. It's Sean Connery for all the reasons you just mentioned. And don't tell me that guy doesn't have a lot of cash. He's just going to show up somewhere and people are going to pay him a lot of money just to stand there and look good. All right, pivoting to the Darth Vader Award for the worst parent. Tons of opportunities here. A litany of folks, Joe Bay, that you could choose from.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot. I mean, I think you could very easily say Captain Darrow. That guy's a sadist. He reveals himself as just an insane person. That's
the guy with the jawline. Father. Is that the guy you're talking about? Yeah,
the guy that like clearly enjoys killing people.
Correct.
But I wrote down. I think Bob stole my thunder a little bit on this one, and I guess I went a little against the grain here. But to me, the worst parent was the trolley conductor. I mean, that guy shows a lot of, in a short amount of time, he shows a lot of characteristics that you don't want in a parent. He says, we're going to crash, save yourselves. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. And then at the very end of that wreck, as he's looking back on his broken up trolley, he just goes, damn, this sucks. And that sort of defeatist attitude, that's just not going to work as a parent. So I went with him. But, I think there was a lot of candidates for bad parenting in this.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it's Ed Harris, but I love Ed Harris, but I think he's the worst. I mean, he was the best of us, and then he was the worst of us, and I understand he saw a lot of people die under his care and they weren't taken care of. But the way you do that is not kill more Marines. And that's what he did. And, with great power comes great responsibility. And he just led those people into a bloodbath over what? Money. Promised them money and didn't even offer them that much for what they were doing. So Ed Harris, unfortunately, the greatest mission control conductor of all time in Apollo 13 is my worst parent, unfortunately.
Yeah, Bobby, I had him written down initially, but I was just underwhelmed by the villain that he was supposed to be. So I went with Carla. Now, Goodspeed tells her, don't come to San Francisco. And she just shows up. I mean, this guy works in chemical weaponry. He's in the FBI. If he says, don't come to this particular city, then don't. And then she's there clearly knowing what's going on. It's going to hang out here. Got this unborn baby in my belly. We'll just see how this all turns out. Did not like the performance from her. All right, the eBay Award. Item from the movie that you would most want, Joe Bay.
I'm still in shock on that answer, Mark. How dare you? How dare you speak of Carla like that? She loves her man. She wanted to go see him. And San Francisco is a beautiful city, especially that time of year. My eBay award, I've got two that I really like. I think I'm going to go with a chain of green VX gas balls.
The ones that go back and forth?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we always talk about, you put something on your mantle and just kind of leave it there. Like that would be, people would be like, anybody that I want to hang out with would kind of 100%. Recognize what that was.
100%.
Yeah. And I did have one thing that I found in my research about this VX gas that I just thought was fascinating. So when the U.S. has disposed of most of its VX gas because we're trying to get rid of our chemical weapons. So there's a program called the Chase program. And that's how we dispose of stockpiles of chemical gas. Chase is an acronym that stands for cut holes and sink them. And they literally just put stuff on ships fill these ships with chemical agents and just cut a hole in them and sink them. The Chase program. I love that. I thought that was so funny. And, if I had this on my mantle, then I could tell that story and I think people would find that interesting. So I'm going to go with a little bit of hopefully not real movie prop VX gas.
I like it. That was the exact same thing I had, but it was, they look like the sarin gas, but they're the balls where you hold one up and it goes think, think,
yeah,
think, think. Oh, that's what I think that's what it would be. That's what it would be.
I'm comforted knowing that we've gotten rid of all of our sarin gas. I'm sure that's a true story. There wasn't a ton, in here, but if the microfilm is real, I want the microfilm.
Well, Trump's going to release it, so we'll be fine. We'll know here in a couple months.
And I have a question on the microfilm, if you will, Bob and Mark. So we talked about in Armageddon, what would they get their one wish, right? Like they can have anything in the world. Now you've got the microfilm, you can find all these government secrets. Is there one thing that you guys would just be like, this is the first thing I got to know from this microfilm?
Specifically about specifically on the JFK shooting?
Well, I think just like any government secret that you're like, I want to know the truth behind this one.
No, I'm not like the public. I don't want to know anything. I'm good right here. I'm doing this dumb podcast. I'm playing golf today. Life is good. I don't need to know any of that stuff. People want to know too much. So no, I don't want to know anything.
It's a great question, Joe Bay. I feel like we kind of know so much more now than we thought. And I just basically, whatever they're telling me, I just assume it's not true. So I go with the others.
You know what? Let me answer. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mark. You know what I want to know? Now, all the stats are coming out of this election. Joe Bay, we're not getting into a political discussion, but like the Democrats got 30 million more votes, or how much was it? It was how many more votes did they get in 2020? I saw
20,
like 20 million more votes, and I saw this meme of like a Democratic, influence or whatever. He's like, damn. Maybe we did cheat in 2020, because the numbers are so far off in 2020. I would like to know if there was any shenanigans in 2020. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I would like to know that one. That's the only thing I'd like to know.
There we go. Maybe it's on the microfilm. Bob, a litany of bad decisions in this one. But what wins the ultimate prize of the Terrence Howard Award for the worst decision in The Rock?
maybe choosing the Rock as your place to have this stand, and then not guarding the only entry point that you can't see, the cistern room. I mean, come on, like, what are we doing? Like, everybody knows that, you can bubble up and right in there, and, and they're not watching that. So just poor planning all along. Poor planning all along. They could have got to Alcatraz not taken 81 hostages. I don't think they need them as leverage. So just a bad job all the way around.
Alcatraz really taking a beating from Bobby today. Well, Bobby, it's your turn. Time for Bob's big question.
Oh, what was the one I wanted to start with? Yeah, okay. So, Jobe, you love this scene. Have you ever had to stop right in the middle of having relations with your wife or a woman? Stanley Goodspeed has to stop right in the middle. Like, have you ever had to stop right in the middle?
I mean, I'm sure there's been times when the situation called for stopping, but you know me, Bobby. I don't stop.
I got it. How fast do you need to be running to be hit with the clothesline and do a full flip? So in the beginning, they're attacking this naval, I love the lettering. It's like naval army base. Like, it was just like it was written in crayon there. And he just clotheslines the guy, does a full flip. Jobe, do you have to be running really fast, or you just got to be really strong? How does that happen?
It's faster than I can run, because I've tried it several times, and I've never done the full flip. But yeah, that's like a Michael Bay signature, right? You can't just clothesline somebody and knock them down. They've got to do a full backflip on the clothesline.
So have either of you taken a tour of Alcatraz?
I have. Yeah.
Did you take the underground Indiana Jones rail car tour that's under this prison? Did you take that one?
We did. It's very expensive, but definitely worth it. Yeah, it's interesting. We saw the boiler room. We were able to roll through the fires that are for some reason still active underneath Alcatraz.
Why do we need this rail car system? What is it bringing, and where is it bringing it to? This island isn't that big. So Meet the Beatles is the album that he got in the beginning. It cost $600 in 1996, $1,200 now. If you go on Google and you select and you want to buy an original Meet the Beatles album, what do you think it costs? A little closest to the pin, Mark. What do you think the Meet the Beatles album cost, authentic?
So a vintage vinyl of that's $25,000.
Okay, Jobe.
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go, I'd say $11,832.
Jobe wins $5,000. So not as much as you think. Now, I didn't do too much research. I just plugged it in and it said $5,000. So if he bought it for $696, that's $1,200 in today's dollars. Stanley Goodspeed, a really good deal maker. Jobe, Ferrari or Lambo? I bring this up. I had some kids in the car. We went to a basketball game and we were playing Would You Rather. And I said, Ferrari or Lambo? There's a great classic Ferrari in the chasing, the yellow one. Ferrari or Lambo?
It's interesting you bring that up, because I think you told me one time, Bob, and not to get too deep here, but you told me that when you have a pair of socks that is like a left and a right sock, you get it right 17% of the time, right?
It should be 50-50.
It should be 50-50.
Not for me.
Every time I see a sports car and say, hey, kids, there's a Lambo, it's a Ferrari, and vice versa. I never know. I never know which is which. So
the answer doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Well, kids, it's not even close. It's Lamborghinis. They think they are way cooler than Ferraris. Mark, are you okay with a woman asking a man for marriage?
No, I don't like that. I think, look, everybody wants to equal this, equal that, gender this, gender that. A man should ask a woman to marry him.
Yeah, if this guy is Chelsea's one and you find out Chelsea asked him, that's not good.
Not going to be off to a good start. No.
Not off to a good start. Along the same lines, I'm seeing this trend, and Jobe probably knows how I feel. Jobe, would you be okay if Nash played on a baseball team and the head coach was a woman?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if she was a good coach and a good ballpark, but
I knew you were going to say that. You're such a. You would not be okay with it.
if the prom queen proposes to you, you get that's another thing that holds up from this movie, prom queens. I mean, if somebody tells, I'm 44 years old, somebody tells me they were the prom queen 25 years ago, I'm like, this girl's pretty great. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's pretty good. Should we go back to military time? I love the 0600. I love the 1300 or I love that. Should we go just to military time? And a second part of the question, Mark, well, we both travel. We all travel a lot. You guys travel more than I do. I just go to the Central Time Zone. When you go to the Central or Pacific Time Zone, do you keep your watch on Eastern?
I don't. I assume the time that I'm in.
Wow, that's hard, man. That you've got to screw that up a lot. I only pretty much go to the Central Time Zone. I'm Eastern the whole time. Jobei, you go to the Central a lot. Do you change your watch?
Yeah, I will change it, but not until I'm physically in the time zone. I feel like if I change it in the air, I'm jinxing myself. So not until I've safely made it to the time zone, then I change it. And I change everything. We went to Italy recently. As soon as we are in Italy, it's not, oh, hey, it's 8 o'clock in America. You just got to say, it's this time where I am, and this is the time that I'm going to live in.
Agree.
Yeah. Well, we already litigated on my last one. Do you like San Francisco? And I won that argument convincingly that San Francisco is terrible. So, Mark, that's my last of Bob's big questions.
Very nice. You brought up another thing we should have had in the hold up category. Vinyl really made a big comeback, much more popular. And you're right, Bob. The Indiana Jones set at the bottom of Alcatraz was really, I enjoyed it, but that's what I thought of was Indiana Jones when they were down there.
Yeah. Sidekick. Isn't Sidekick down there with them? I forget.
Short round.
Sorry.
The final award, Jobei, the Rudy Sack Award. You sort of hinted at it. This is given out to the most emotional moment of the movie. What do you got?
Yeah, this one, I remember this being incredibly emotional when I saw it originally. I remember feeling these emotions when I went and toured Alcatraz, felt them again last night. It's the shower room fight. When that Marine is trying to talk to Harris, we've spilled the same blood in the same mud. You know goddamn well I can't give that order. I will not repeat that order. I cannot give that order. Just absolutely chills just thinking about it. It's Michael Bay at his finest. You know, it's got the rousing music, the tight camera angles, the overly dramatic deaths. Harris just overacting, frantically yelling ceasefire. And then at the very end, when he's speaking directly to the camera and he says, "Damn you for putting me in this position." I mean, the tears are welling up. It's as emotional as it gets. I absolutely love that scene. I will say my recent tour to Alcatraz, I was a little disappointed to see the shower room is actually like set up a little bit differently. I didn't see the same access points. So, you know, there may have been some historical inaccuracies there, but that one really was emotional for me. And I love that scene.
Maybe the first and only man that cried during The Rock. Good for you. Good for you. That was a very good scene. I'll take that one. I didn't really have one for this. I didn't feel much emotion with this. And that's not being negative or derogatory. But that I might go back to Terrence Howard, Worst Decisions. You can tell me you're not giving up, but you got to give up. You know, you're standing in a bowl with everybody shooting. You're not getting out of that. So you just sacrificed all your men. So yeah, not great on that one.
Yeah, the shower scene was really good, but kind of to your point, Bob, the SEALs giving up the high ground and just, yeah, what were they going to do there? They just kind of gave up. I was thinking it might be the green flares. Again, kind of with you, Bob, it was tough to find one. I did like when he lets Mason go and they agree, you know, that, hey, his body was vaporized, you know, Sean Connery cool. Gets away. So I kind of enjoyed that part. All right, the last thing before we get into Hall of Fame plaques, does the movie need a different ending? But here's the question I have for you guys here. So Hummel, love Ed Harris, a great actor, love him, and he makes every movie that he's in better. They just didn't write a very good part for him here. You know, he starts out as a really convincing bad guy, then he's kind of, and then he just gives up, which I thought was a little bit strange, especially coming off of Hans Gruber. But guys, don't we need a standoff at the end with Hummel and not just random captain guy who looks like a psycho? I mean, Jobei, wouldn't it have been better if Goodspeed and Mason have to take down Hummel at the very end versus just a random actor?
Yeah, that did seem like a miss. I agree with you there, Mark, and I think we could change that. Usually I strenuously disagree with your ending changes. We can harken back to when you wanted Andy Dufresne to get sold out by Red in Shawshank. But yeah, this one, I think you're right. I don't know that I disagree, that I agree with Harris. You know, I think he was a nuanced character. It can't just be, you know, black and white. He's good or he's bad. He was a sympathetic villain. He was flawed. He was a little unusual. So I kind of like that about his character. But yeah, I think a showdown between the three major guys is really would have made sense here.
Yeah.
Bobby?
Didn't I just answer? Didn't I? What? Oh, about the ending. No, yes, we needed that. Sorry, I'm on the Hall of Fame plaque. Sorry. Yes, we needed that. I agree with what Joe Bay says. He's a nuanced character. Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry, I zoned out there for a second.
Welcome back. Did you just black out?
I did.
All right,
I'm not
guys.
a professional. I'm a semi-professional podcaster. Semi-professional. I have to go to the bathroom so bad. I'm not focused right now.
If you gotta go, I can.
No, it's fine. We're almost
pause this
done.
out. All right, here we go. Hall of Fame
leave that in
plaques.
the podcast. That's funny stuff.
Hall of Fame plaques. I have three. It's the main three guys. Let's start with Ed Harris, the aforementioned Hummel. Bob has already named what I would have as his Hall of Fame plaque is Gene Kranz at Apollo 13. A terrific movie. I think I'll always picture him with that flat top, you know, that tight shirt. And he's kind of got like
the headphones,
the vest on.
Yes.
He's also really good in The Right Stuff. You know, again, harkening back to the space age where he gets to play John Glenn. The Abyss, an underrated movie. The Firm. He's in Gone Baby Gone. Just a ton of stuff. Bob and I are going Apollo 13 of Gene Kranz. Joe Bay, do you concur?
I do not. When Ed Harris is on his deathbed, he agreed, great actor, a lot of great roles. I love Apollo 13. When he is on his deathbed, his last words are going to be Harris from Alcatraz. Out.
It would be amazing if that's the truth. It would be amazing if that's the truth.
I guess he would have to die on Alcatraz for that to make sense, but in some ways he will.
Nah, don't get caught up in the details, Joe Bay.
Nick Coppola, better known as Nick Cage. We talked about these characters. He wins the award for Leaving Las Vegas. I would never think of him as that. You know, he's Goodspeed in The Rock, Con Air, Face Off. I think he's the national treasure guy. I just have seen that movie so often now because my kids really enjoyed it. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Gets it for me. Joe Bay, what do you think of with Nick Cage?
I think for Nick Cage, for me, it's not necessarily a movie. It's just the kind of the cadence and volume of his voice when he dials it up. Like there's just, he does it in every movie where he just starts talking loud. And to me, that's just his signature. I don't know if it's connected to any specific character. I think my Hall of Fame plaque is just him getting that crazy face and raising his voice up.
I think he's Castor Troy in Face Off. I think he is. I don't know. When I close my eyes and think of him, I think of the prison scene when because he's technically a good guy, right? And he puts the bad face on, right? So he's in prison and he's scared, but then he realizes, oh, I'm Castor Troy. I need to act crazy. That scene when he first acts crazy in Face Off, that's exactly what I think of with Nicolas Cage.
It's a tough one,
Yeah, it is.
Joe Bay's kind of odd to something a little bit. There is a look, there is a cadence.
Well, I think one of my quotes when he's like, but how in the name of Zeus's butthole did you get out of this cell? Yeah, that was a good quote.
All right. Sean Connery, just incredible. I loved hearing him on there. He was James Bond 7 times. I mean, he's the OG, probably going to be hard to go away from that. He's Indiana Jones's dad in an incredible third act of a franchise. The Untouchables, his only Academy Award, The Hunt for the Red October. But maybe he is the award that he won in 1999 from People's Magazine when he was named the sexiest man of the century. Joe Bay, is this guy James Bond or is he the sexiest man of the century?
Yeah, I heard some scuttlebutt about that sexiest man award too. I think the same year they had like the sexiest big guy award and gave it to John Goodman. So I'm not sure either of those guys at that particular time were exceptionally sexy. So I take umbrage to that a little bit. He's James Bond to me. I think he was the best James Bond. Iconic franchise. To me, Connery is James Bond. But I loved him, and I also loved him as Indiana Jones' dad. I mean, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, and so I'd give that an honorable mention. But it's tough to go against James Bond.
It is. I think of The Hunt for the Red October, or I think of Daryl Hammond playing him on SNL and Jeopardy. It's incredible when he's just giving it to Will Ferrell as Alex Trebek. That's probably the first thing I think of. I will not disrespect Sean Connery and say that's his Hall of Fame plaque, but that's the first thing I think of.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Made me pause. You're right. Yeah, look, I mean, he's the OG of one of the all-time characters in the history of movies, and it's still going on to this day, probably because he was so good, but just that James Bond delivery is probably what he is. But man, I really enjoyed watching him. All right, Bobby, I'm sure you've got some Hall of Fame plaques for us.
Let's do Michael Bain. He's John Connor. He's in The Abyss. He's in Aliens. He's Johnny Ringo. And then he's in this movie. Who is he, Mark? Who is his Hall of Fame plaque?
Johnny Ringo. As much as I love Terminator and all that, I'll always think of him as that.
Yeah, no. All right, so best accent ever. Now, I know I'm going to miss some, but not as an actor, not as a voice. But you got Christopher Walken. You got Christoph Waltz from Django. Sean Connery, Idris Elba, or Tom Hardy. Those are my ones. I know I'm missing some.
I'm going Sean Connery. This movie, just hearing it again, cemented it.
It's so good. Joe Bay, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, you missed the obvious winner. It's Maggie from Caddyshack, the Irish accent from Maddie.
Throw her in there. Maggie. Throw her in there. Is she the winner? I'll accept it.
Yeah, that's my write-in.
Okay. Thanks for noting, Danny. All right. Hall of Fame plaque for a Rock. Okay. You've got The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, which is the leader in the clubhouse, because I couldn't search this without just everything from The Rock coming at me. So you've got Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You've got The Rock, the movie. You've got the Blarney Stone, which is probably the epicenter of every disease in the world. It's disgusting. You've got the rock that the church was built on. You know, that's on this rock, I'll build my church. You've got a basketball. Pass the rock, shoot the rock. You've got Plymouth Rock. You got Stonehenge. You got Half Dome and El Cap. And that's it. Sorry, that's it. Hall of Fame plaque for The Rock. Joe Bay?
Well, Bobby, I'll go ahead, Joe.
Joe Bay, go.
Well, Bob, you've said a couple times that Alcatraz is overrated. You're wrong. There's a quote on the walls there that one of the prisoners said, "Break the rules and you go to prison. Break the prison rules and you go to Alcatraz." The place is absolutely amazing. The history there is incredible. You say The Rock to me, there's one thing and one thing only, and it is it's Alcatraz.
Okay.
Well, we're at dinner last night, and Lily asked us, "Hey, what movie you doing tomorrow?" We said The Rock. She goes, "Dwayne Johnson?" So I guess it's going to have to be Dwayne Johnson. Yeah.
I think if The Rock goes to the Hall of Fame, it's going to have Dwayne Johnson on there. I think it is. Okay, so he's talking to Sean Connery, and one of the cops is, and he says, you can get out of here. Well, you still got a little bit of lead in your pencil. So I said, okay, what are some the best saying, Hall of Fame plaque for having a little bit more to go? And man, the Google machine broke. I couldn't find any others like hair on your chest. So then I just pivoted to the best euphemism for sex, sweeping the chimney. A hot beef injection, bashing the bishop, parking the bus, or plowing the land. Joe Bay, what's the best euphemism for you in a movie theater watching this movie? What's the best euphemism of that?
Yeah, I think it's the HBI. Yeah, the hot beef injection. I love that.
So HBI, you've heard that before? I never heard that before. You've heard that you had an short abbreviation for it?
Of course, yeah. A lot of talk about dialing up an HBI.
Mark, any opinion on that one?
I don't think I've heard any of those, but Joe Bay made me laugh, so let's go HBI.
Okay, all right. This is a good one. You got to put this is my last one here. So, best one syllable movie titles that start with the word The Rock, right? Okay, so The Rock. Here are your choices. I'm going quick. The Rock, The Town, The Croods, The Game, The Help, The Burbs, The Mask, The Ring, The Crow, The Saint, The Sting, and The Thing. Mark, best one.
The Town.
Joe Bay?
What a great question. God, all of those just get me excited. I think the game, I go with The Game. I love that.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good. You guys both lose. I win. Great job, Bobby P. That's it, Mark. That's all my Hall of Fame plex.
Good job. The Game. Underrated Fincher movie. Would like to do that at some point. All right, guys, the final award, the MVP award. I mean, look, The Rock itself, Alcatraz, is up for the potentially winning here. But Joe Bay, who gets it for your Opus movie?
Wow. You know, I want to say Nicolas Cage. I love Goodspeed. I love the character. To me, it's VX Gas. I just found myself, I think the first time I watched it, the first time I watched the movie, it was Hummel. I loved Hummel. I was just fascinated by the military precision and discipline and all that stuff that he had. Probably the second time I started to get more into Cage and Goodspeed and just loved him and thought he was hilarious. This time I was just fascinated by this gas. Like I spent 2 hours last night doing research on, is this stuff real? What does it really do to you? Like, this is what killed Kim Jong-un's brother. Two women rubbed this on his face in the airport in Kuala Lumpur, and that's how he was killed by this type of gas.
VX Gas. First award, yeah. First MVP award for VX Gas.
Yeah, the inanimate object. To me, it's maybe the wrong answer, but it was that to me this time. VX Gas was the MVP.
So mine is Michael Bay, not for the reason you think. Michael Bay cemented my idea that I just hate the city of San Francisco. So good job, Michael Bay, for bringing that to light, that I don't care ever to go back unless I get invited to some of those good golf courses that are right there. I'll find my way back there to play those golf courses, but that's my vote.
Tough beat for San Fran today. Look, I gave serious consideration to Alcatraz itself. Thought it was a cool location, but ultimately Sean Connery gets it. It was amazing to see him in here. I really enjoyed his performance. And it was a little bit like, why is this guy in here? But he gave the movie some gravitas, and I loved hearing him speak. Joe Bay, as always, a pleasure to have you on. Bobby, I enjoyed it. Until next time, this has been the Pozcast.